Belonging is a business strategy. It's not a buzzword. If you've been listening to this show or you've worked with me, you know that I do not do lip service. I focus on culture, leadership, and transformation. And belonging is at the center of all of it. So let's really define it right now so we can really know what it looks like and feels like. Belonging is the felt sense that I can be who I actually am here, and I won't get penalized for it. Now, that's something that's not always there in our society even. But to really understand belonging, it goes beyond just being included. It's really about being valued, being seen, and safe. If you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or business owner that can't seem to figure out what is blocking you from attaining the next level of growth in your business, then listen up. I'm Maria De Lorenzo Reyes. I've taken what I've learned in 30 years working inside multi-million-dollar corporations, building my own business, and consulting my clients, and discovered 5 themes that stop a business from scaling. I've created a tool to help you get the answers you need to get unstuck and unlock the next level of growth. Head over to scale.mariadr.com and click the link to get your custom Scale Factor Formula scorecard when this episode is over. Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. I'm your host, Maria De Lorenzo Reyes, and today I have a shorty episode for you where I am sticking with what I typically do in this space. You know, this space is all about stripping away what's performative and talking about what's real. And today, I'm going to do just that with a word that gets tossed around a lot. Belonging. So let me say this right out of the gate. Belonging is not a trend. It's not a DEI checkbox or something that's going to be feared. And it's definitely not a nice to have. Belonging is a business strategy. It's not a buzzword. If you've been listening to this show or you've worked with me, you know that I do not do lip service. I focus on culture, leadership, and transformation. And belonging is at the center of all of it. So let's really define it right now so we can really know what it looks like and feels like. Belonging is the felt sense that I can be who I actually am here, and I won't get penalized for it. Now, that's something that's not always there in our society even. But to really understand belonging, it goes beyond just being included. It's really about being valued, being seen, and safe. You know that I like to talk and inspire you and bring lots of motivation and make you feel emotions that are behind everything that I'm talking about and what I stand for. But I know there are people that like to hear the data. And I want to bring you some data that backs up this very point. According to LinkedIn 2023 Global Talent Trends, employees who feel a strong sense of belonging are 3 times more likely to be engaged and 9 times more likely to believe that their company is fair and equitable. Time magazine has also reported that companies that prioritize belonging grow at a rate of 3 times their competitors. In their article, The Power of Belonging in the Workplace. Now, if those aren't metrics for the business people that look for those on what the ROI is behind belonging, it's right there. Let's not forget that higher retention, fewer sick days, stronger performance, all come standard when people actually feel like they belong. It also really eradicates burnout, disengagement. And that's why this has to be strategic for businesses, for team members, and especially for leaders. This is where leaders can't afford to stay vague. Belonging isn't a vibe. It's a measurable, trackable driver of performance. And when it's missing, you feel it. In culture, in morale, and guess what? In the bottom line. When I go into organizations, whether it's a 20-person startup or a global brand, the moment we start talking about belonging, the energy shifts. Because people aren't craving more swag or surface talk. They're craving real connection, psychological safety, and the space to bring their full selves to the table. I've talked about this before. We've explored it in other episodes. What happens when culture starts to drift? How burnout becomes a real problem that we battle against. Well, guess what? Belonging protects against both. It builds resilience into the system, into the ecosystem of the company. It takes care of people. It creates that real impact that not just has to do with what's happening inside the building every day, but what happens when team members go home to their family, to their friends, and move on with their day or their evening in their personal lives. So the question becomes, and it's very times elusive, how do we build belonging on purpose? Not just randomly get it. Well, there's 5 things that I teach in leadership intensives and the work that I do, because they're grounded in reality, not theory. So let's break them down. First, define what belonging looks like for your team in your language. One of the things I like to talk about is really defining the language. Because as we know, people attach different meanings to different things. So define those traits, behaviors in your language for your team. What does it actually mean to feel seen, respected, and valued in your space? Ask people, don't guess. Second, model humanity at the top. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about being real. It's about sharing the mistakes, owning your learning, being human. Vulnerability invites trust. And as we've spoken about so many times, and if you reflect on your own relationships, without trust, everything falls down like dominoes. Third, institutionalize inclusion. It has to be in the bones of your systems, your hiring practices, your meeting structures, your promotion pathways. Otherwise, it's just performative. It's just talk. You've got to really bake it into your company structure. Fourth, measure what matters. Track belonging, not just engagement. Look at qualitative data, pulse surveys. Are people growing? Do they feel safe? Do they feel heard? And celebrate differences loudly. This isn't about blending in. It's about standing out and being valued for it. It's about elevating voices that reflect the diversity of your team. Tell real stories, share the mic, encourage others equally to contribute ideas and reflections. Here's what I want to leave you with, and really is the closing point. Belonging isn't about making people fit into a culture. We talk a lot about making sure it's the right fit. Yeah, but your fit has to be one that people want to be a part of. So belonging is about building a culture that expands to hold more voices, more experience, more excellence, and more brilliance. And when belonging is real, people do their best work. They innovate, they stay, they lead. And when you build a workplace where people feel like they belong, you're not just leading, you're creating a lasting legacy. If this landed for you, please subscribe, share it, leave us a review. Better yet, have a conversation with your team. That's really what I would love. Ask, what does belonging mean here? And are we living it or just saying it? If you're not a person with a leadership title, start those conversations in your organization. Until next time, keep finding the upside, especially in the places we so often overlook. That's all for today. I'll see you next time on the next episode of Finding the Upside. Bye, friends. All right, so I hope you loved this episode and found it valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you'd be so kind, if you know someone else that this will help, please share this episode with them. Just grab a link for this specific episode, text it to a friend or colleague so it can help more people like you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place on the Finding the Upside podcast.